so here we are for another episode of JvJ, Jeremy versus Jeremy, where one of us will pick a topic and we'll attack it or defend it. We're going to go ahead and flip this coin to see who's doing that.
So we just watched The November Man, and it looks like I'm defending the movie.
Alright, so yeah, I'll go ahead and start off first. First thing I noticed, which was horrible, was continuation with firearm accuracy. So he's using a Glock 1 second, all of a sudden it's a SIG, and then it's a ZZ, and then is it a Glock again? I'm not sure, like, what's going on. And the thing is, sometimes you don't really notice if you're like, you know, it's a scene where he's kind of far away, it's dark, you know, if you switch guns, people probably aren't going to notice, but it's literally a close-up of the gun, and then, whoop, he's got a SIG. What is up with that?
I really don't. It caught me by surprise too. Like, it's just like, how could, it's like, what are we, like 2014, we're still doing this?
I feel like there isn't really an excuse for that.
The only excuse I can think of is like, they went back and be like, oh, we need an extra scene, or we need to reshoot this, and they didn't have the gun, but even then, it's like,
I could see that, but that's still, like, pretty horrible.
Yeah,
somebody could have at least been like, Glock, scene 26.
Okay, even in James Bond, because we're talking about Pierce Brosnan. In James Bond switch guns a lot, but it's like in short frames, and it's far away, or like you don't really notice it, so, you know, like, whatever. But it's like, this is like, it's literally like, one shot here, he has a gun with a hammer, and it's like suddenly a Glock.
Yeah, that was pretty terrible.
Yeah, but as far as the movie, it was good. It was a good spy movie. You know, like, it's nice to see another spy movie. I mean, it's not like, if you're looking for an action flick, this might not be your thing, but if you're looking for like a good spy movie, it's actually one of the better ones in recent years I can think of. You know.
Let's be honest, it's really a glorification of Pierce Brosnan. This is not a spy film.
It is true, but hey, Pierce Brosnan, that's always a plus. I don't even need to defend that. It's Pierce Brosnan. Like, you like Pierce Brosnan, I love him, and he did a good job. It's not as fun as he usually does, but you know, he brings forth a seriousness that works out.
That's what I wanted out of the film, though, is like, I love James, you know, the James Bond that he played, where he's like suave, he's got the funny like puns and everything, and like that was like what drew me, is like, okay, you know, we're basically getting another spy movie, but it was almost like the tone of seriousness was just like to a different level, which makes sense for a spy movie. So it's like, if you're not expecting, you know, the classic Brosnan with his like, you know, sexy suave, then, you know, I understand. You know what I mean? It makes sense for the role that he was cast for.
But he did very good. I mean, it was tense. Like, he played it for, finally, like, you know, as a character that actually like says what he's gonna do. Like, you know, we're used to characters where it's like, oh, I have moral dilemmas, or like, oh, I don't know if I should do this. He just goes ahead and fucking does it. Like, you know, like, you know, all those scenes where it's like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, like, point a gun to someone's head, but I'm not really gonna shoot him, or I'm gonna, like, fret over it. You know what? Pierce Brosnan is just like, you know what?
Holy shit, like, when he cut that girl, I was just like, man, I can't, like, that's something you never expect. It's like, especially when the main character, who's like a good guy, inflicts like willful injury on someone, like a victim, like an innocent person, and then you're just like, whoa, that was pretty awesome. It's definitely like a turn that you wouldn't expect.
It's just not the age of the spy movie anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
that was one thing that I could say was not great, was that it was like, it's hard to make spy movies as good as they used to be. Like, a great example, Mission Impossible. Like, that was like one of the classic spy movies of its time, and that was when it was like, you know, right after like the spy era. And so it's like they did an excellent job with the actual part of counterintelligence, not just like, oh, just straight action, action, action. It wasn't like that. It was more like real spy stuff, which they incorporated pretty well into this film, but it's just not really that type of audience anymore.
The action is good, but it isn't as good as like, you know, like, I'm trying to think, I don't want to use Bourne, because like, I don't want to talk about the shaky cam, but like, what's a good act? It's like Taken. Taken's a good.
Taken was a good one.
It's like, so the action isn't Taken tier, but I mean, it's still good, but it's not Taken tier. And the spy stuff, like, is good, but it still isn't as good as, like, Spy Game tier. So it's like, it's kind of sits in the middle, where it's like, it's basically carried strictly by Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, like, if it wasn't Pierce Brosnan, I think the movie wouldn't have been...
And you know what, I don't think we would have cared. I don't think I would have cared if it wasn't, you know, if it was someone else.
I think they tried to put a lot of action into it, because there's a lot of really great action scenes, but then like in between, there's some really slow moments where they try to like capitalize on actual spy game, and they do a good job in terms of like making the plot so it's like it's just enough that you follow it really well and you don't get too confused. But at the same time, it's like it went a little too deep. And I just didn't really, I wasn't like really into that part. Like the next part I was like, okay, I just want to see Pierce Brosnan shoot someone.
Yeah, it's like the middle was very slow.
Yeah.
I had to give you that. Like I was like, oh god, this thing should be over, and the whole time I was just like, oh, I just want to see Pierce Brosnan like kick ass.
Yeah.
You know, because he was pretty ass kicking. He did a lot of ass kicking.
You know what I don't think they did enough? They should have had more backstory with training his
That's
disciple.
what I was thinking. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because it's like, the disciple was the bit, I don't even know his name, but you know, whatever, it'll be up there. But I don't even know his name, but yeah, the disciple, like, yeah, I just didn't care as much about it because we didn't get his backstory. I feel like a little bit more of his backstory would have helped, and then overall, like, you know, it's a fun movie. And then if you're a Pierce Brosnan fan or if you're a fan of the good spy movies, I think you'd enjoy it. But otherwise, if you're looking for something like Taken or even Bourne or, you know, like something like that.
Yeah, it's not really cutting it. However, I will praise one thing specifically. A lot of the characters have excellent trigger discipline. That made me really happy. And the thing is, like, you know, you don't expect that. A lot of movies, you know, like, actors aren't really trained in how to use firearms, and so they just kind of like, oh, they just point them wherever, they got their finger on the trigger. Right? But the whole time you see, like, these guys, like, clearing rooms and, like, reaching and stuff, and they've got proper muzzle control and trigger discipline. Like there was one moment where a guy passes in front of another guy, and the guy like lowers his muzzle as the guy runs for it, and I was like, okay, that's awesome choreography right there.
So, I mean, it's Pierce Brosnan kicking ass. So it's
yeah,
like,
I think it's worth it just for Pierce Brosnan.
I think it's worth it. It's just for Pierce Brosnan too. Better or worse than Expendable 3?
Oh gosh. You know what? It's two different character movie, but honestly, actually, I think I enjoyed November Men better.
I did too. I did too. It was like, you know, like it's not as deep or as like thought provoking as like Mission Impossible 1 or Spy Game, but it still had a bit of that like mind game going on, like what's really going on, you know, like
they had like a really obvious twist offset by a twist that you don't see until like later, which is really nice. They did a good job on that. Yeah. So I would say go see it. If you do see it and you have something to add, put it in the comments below. If you like this video, then please like and subscribe, and you can pick which Jeremy won. Let us know. We'll see you next time.
You know what? We need to find a movie that we actually hate.
And then